Our NHL Network insider, Elliotte Friedman, there he is, joins us right now. Elliotte, we're talking all things NHL. We'll start with one of the bigger topics surrounding the deadline. Evgeny Dadonov. He was one of the biggest storylines both during as well as after the trade deadline. What has been the fallout since his trade to Anaheim that ended up being voided?
Well, first of all, Jameson, he's not going to like you talking about it because he told us all to move on last week. So you're violating one of his rules. So, just so you know, you're going to be in Dadonov jail for asking the question. First of all, the NHL said at the meetings that them and the Players Association are working on something where from now on, all trade lists, no trade or where you can be traded, are going to be filed centrally. Previously, they were just between the agent and the team. Not everybody's thrilled about this, but that's the way it's going to go, and it's basically a done deal. We just have to wait for it to occur. Obviously, he's a member of the Golden Knights. He's been excellent for them. They're battling to get to the playoffs. He's given them a huge boost. He's been outstanding, scoring the overtime winner last week. The league has indicated they're not going to initiate any sanction against the Ottawa Senator. The Golden Knights do have a mechanism. There is a mechanism in the bylaws where if one team is upset at the other, they can be heard, and the league can decide if there needs to be any compensation or whatever because of it. The GM, Kelly McCrimmon, wouldn't talk about that this week, about what the Golden Knights are thinking about that. So we'll see if it goes anywhere, but it's kind of in their hands right now about if they want to seek any potential redress for it.
Interesting. Another thing people are talking about right now, a postseason salary cap. Where does the league currently stand on that issue?
I think it's unlikely that anything's going to be changed. It has to be collectively bargained with the players. And, one thing that did happen at the GM meetings was, I think it was, I don't know if it was Bettman or Bill Daly, the deputy commissioner, who asked the question, how many of you really think this is a big issue? And there was a show of hands that was, I don't know how many, but there were enough that they said, look, we will talk about this with the Players Association, but it seemed pretty obvious to the people there that they're not interested in any kind of serious bargaining over it. The CBA has 4 or possibly 5 years left to go in it, so maybe this will be something that comes up when it's all over. But right now, I wouldn't expect a change. And the interesting thing was, Jameson, that Ken Holland, who was the person who brought this to the agenda, he told me a really interesting story about when the cap was first being put together in 2004 and 5. He believes they were going to have a salary cap in the playoffs, but he brought up the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 2002 playoffs, where they had a lot of injuries. Only 7 of they played 20 games that year. Only 7 of their skaters played 20 games. And he said, what happens if a team gets a ton of injuries like the Maple Leafs did? How will you make it work? And he said the person on the other line, he wouldn't tell me who it was, went silent. The next thing he knew all those rules were gone. So I think it is something the league has considered in the past. And it comes down to, I think, in the playoffs, what they want is they want the best possible team against the best possible team. And they want the best players on the ice. So I'm not convinced that we will see anything like this, at least not until the next CBA.
All right, status quo for now. What isn't status quo? A lot of NHL teams out there stepping up their efforts to build an overall improved workplace, both on and off the ice. What is the latest there?
Well, Sheldon Kennedy, who runs the Respect Group in Canada, was there, and he and Kim Davis did a panel discussion. And there's a few GMs who are on this committee. Kevin Cheveldayoff is one, Kyle Dubas is one, Jim Nill is one, and they just had a big panel discussion about the efforts that they've got. And basically right now, Sheldon Kennedy and the NHL are putting together a video which basically teaches you about what is acceptable in the workplace and what isn't. And some of those things are obvious, and one thing I've learned with my own training is some of those things maybe might not be so obvious to some people. And one team has finished it, it's Winnipeg. The other Canadian teams will be done it by the end of June. Now in the States, they have to go through state by state. They explain that there's some things that are legal in some states that aren't legal in other states, so they have to tailor it. Those videos will be done by the end of the summer, and the U.S. teams will complete the training by the end of October. But basically, Sheldon Kennedy seemed content with where we're going, which is the most important thing. And he said that the one thing he learned was at the beginning of these videos, you take a survey, and he said that they were definitely seeing people at the beginnings answering questions that they didn't know the answer to, and answering questions after the video where you have to take the survey again and saying, I didn't know this before, but I understand it now.
All right, we'll be all better for it. Everybody going through that process. Austin Matthews, he scored his 50th goal of the season last night, and we could see more players like Matthews joining that club by the end of the season. Why do you think that would be significant?
Well, it would be significant because if you take a look at the number, there's Draisaitl, who's got a chance to get 50 tonight. There's Chris Kreider, who's at 46, and then there's Alexander Ovechkin at 42 and Kyle Connor at 41. And the NHL hasn't had 5 50-goal scorers in 15 years. And I think it would be we all want to see goals, right? I know Mike Rupp loves to watch guys just check each other into oblivion. We like to see goals. And the goals are going up. They're going up. They were at 5.9 at the quarter mark per game, and now they're at 6.2. And the league was saying that that's really unheard of. It doesn't usually happen like that. Usually goal scoring goes down, but it's going up. And I think if we saw 5 50-goal scorers, I think that's what the fans want. I think that's entertaining. And I hope it happens because hockey is better when no one actually defends each other. So it's always good when you see lots of offense. That's what pays the bills.
Take the reins off and let them run. Rupper looked over at me and goes, no, I love a good slog fest. So you're right on that one. Elliotte, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon.